All right, Nsima, what did you eat yesterday?
Chick-fil-A. It's been a long time since I've had Chick-fil-A. Everybody loves Chick-fil-A. It's the chicken. It's like crack.
How did you find yourself there, though?
My girl was like, let's go out and get something, but let's get something quick, but not like, crappy fast food quick. And I was like, Chick-fil-A, it's either Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out here in California.
Yeah.
So we get the Chick-fil-A. I get like 2 of those double chicken with 2 patties. Good. It's fine, right?
Spicy chicken or not?
Spicy chicken.
Okay, good
Spicy
call.
chicken, yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah, the waffle fries, So
I said waffle fries.
waffle fries. Anyway, yeah, this morning, man, my first poop was just like real, just grimy. It looked like it was watery and just gloppy. It's not like my normal ones where I have like steak. The steak ones, they slide out solid, nice and long, clean wipe. It's gloppy. And then I had another one here. It's rough. So I still feel more and more is coming, but man, the chicken's worth it.
You don't end up with tapered shits when you eat fast food,
Nope.
You end up with problems is what you end up with.
Yeah. Lesson learned, man.
Well,
it's the price you pay.
Yeah, you got to weigh the positive and negatives. Yeah. How about it in the bathroom, though? There was a bit of an incident.
Yeah. Ran out of toilet paper, so I had to book it to the next stall. Pants halfway down. But no one was in there, so thank God.
That's when you know it's an emergency, because normally you would check first, check the toilet paper situation out first, make sure you're covered.
Right.
Like, all right, I'm prepared. Now I could sit down and, go about my business.
Hey, but thank God that you guys invested in squatty potties.
I know.
Because those are like, they make everything.
I don't know where our baby wipes are. We haven't been on point with those baby wipes. Gotta get those back.
I really miss them.
They're somewhere, but I just don't know where they are.
Yeah. Well, now that I've been training with you in the morning,
you need more baby wipes.
I had to, I finally, because I've heard or read, I don't remember, but like all flushable wipes are not actually flushable. Ooh. Like they actually will eventually.
That's kind of like the cookie dough thing. Like people just don't want, they're trying to just ruin your life.
So that's, yeah, right. That makes a lot of sense. But in the mornings, I'm like,
people
okay.
just holding you back, man. Be your own man. Blaze your own trail, buddy.
Sounds good. So in the mornings, I like to, so I go to the bathroom and then I go shower and then I come in to train. Well, when training starts at 4:30, and I'm late to that as it is. So it's like, I don't have enough time to do all that. So I'm like, you know what? I can't go in all nasty. Like I have to get some wipes. So got some wipes and man, like I don't even know if I need a shower anymore. Good to go.
Yeah, see?
The trick is just not to flush too many at once. Like it
says it on the label.
2 or 3, you're really playing a risky game there. But just flush one at a time and you're golden. They'll just slip right through. Yeah. I've experience with that, man.
They are slippery.
My pipes before.
I travel with baby wipes. They're everywhere.
Same
they're in my backpack. They're everywhere. I have them at all times because I have to take dumps at coffee shops sometimes. If I'm sitting there for a little bit and I have a coffee and it's just, I don't know, particular day, stomach starts growling. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
Good thing I got my baby wipes with me. I'm good to go.
Yeah. The big old box I got from Costco came with some travel packs.
Yes.
So I was pretty excited for that because I know we got some traveling coming up. So I'm like, I'm good to go. I'm ready.
Costco
what you
has
got.
the good ones.
Speaking of baby wipes, we got Meg Squats on the podcast today.
Speaking of baby wipes.
I don't know how we
segue.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to get her on the show. We had her on the show a long time ago. We had her here at the gym back when Andrew was fishing around for a job. I think that was the last time she was here.
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually the first day I met Mark was when she was here.
Like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago?
About to be 2 years ago, yeah. Or 3 years.
Yeah. Probably closer to 3.
3 years, sorry.
Like a lot of, it was her, Amanda Bucci, and a lot of other strong women were here at the old gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's the definition of growth, though. She, since then, she's been doing a lot of, cool mainstream stuff, too, outside of powerlifting. But that impact that she's continued to have is just, she puts out a good message and she gets good reception.
Yeah. I wonder, if it'll be great to talk to her. I wonder if it's, just her, or if she's got a team or a publicist, or kind of what the deal is.
Yeah, I know her. I think it's still her boyfriend. He he coaches her, but they work together a lot, and she has a camera crew and stuff like that. Or
does she live in Canada?
Person. Yeah,
or she did, or I forget.
I can figure it out. I don't know. I guess that might be a little sketchy if I type like Google search, where does Meg Squats live?
No, not at all, actually. You'd probably come up with a video.
I know that she used to live in New York City, and then I'm not sure where. She went to a couple other spots. I don't know.
Yeah. So
she's a good power lifter too. Deadlifts, her best deadlift, I think, is a little over 400 pounds.
it's like 409.
Yeah.
409.
I mean, that's not just somebody just recreational, lifting here and there. That's a substantial deadlift. And then, like you said, she's hit some mainstream, which is that's unique for a power lifter. She's sponsored by like Special K and I think a few other big companies, right?
Yeah, I think Special K. She's obviously, I think she won the bodybuilding spokesmodel search last year.
Right.
Which was, I mean, that in itself is really, really cool because like, I think a lot of the winners that bodybuilding.com has been going for has been like, the really shredded, bikini athletes, etc. And Meg, I think she purposefully went into it not being super lean. She went in, with the just being strong, and that's really good as just like a message to a lot of women that you don't have to be like lean and shredded all the time. It's not necessarily the healthiest either, but yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Charity Witt's story with her on Titan Games. I think more people got behind her because she wasn't this tiny little thing, and she wasn't. And then one of the girls that she ended up kind of dominating when she was carrying that chain or whatever, that anchor or whatever they were pulling that time. That girl was super thin, and so here she is, a bigger girl, a little thicker, right? And here she is just towing this thing. And I think that's what it's about for a lot of people. It's about performance, not necessarily just about the look, right?
Yeah. I think she's been competing also for, I don't know, like 4 years in powerlifting. So that's a lot of time spent under the bar. And they work, the strong friends, they work with like a lot of men and a lot of women. So it's going to be interesting to see what we find out.
Oh, there she is.
I think I hear it.
Oh, hey, there she is.
Hey there.
Hey, it's Meg Squats. What's up, Meg Squats?
There you are. Hi.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let me make sure I look cute.
I think you got that part down. You're looking great.
Thanks. I got ready for this. You can see all my makeup there. That's what I used. There's like 80 drawers down there full of makeup that I just slapped on my face.
You had to load up, right?
Yeah, I had to get ready. I knew it was some serious stuff about to go down.
So is this just a rumor or did you specifically diet down for this particular podcast?
I knew you were going to reach out. So I know we couldn't link up over the fall? So I was like, let me actually pause on this possibility. And I'm going to just cut straight into our reschedule. So it's been working out. I didn't want to wear a tank top or anything to intimidate anyone. But
yeah, don't show us up here, please.
So I have a question. I don't know if we're live right now, but I do have a mic here. I'm not sure if if my sound is okay right now.
Yeah, everything sounds pretty good right now.
Does it? Okay, cool. Then I won't even use this because I don't.
Oh no, leave it there though as a prop. It looks professional. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a pop filter on it, and I have an annoying voice, so it makes it sound even worse.
Right.
We can avoid that, and that's great.
Yeah, we don't have to overcomplicate it. Just simple is fine.
Okay, cool.
Come on, your voice isn't that annoying. I mean, it's bad, but it ain't that bad, right?
All right, I'll take that.
Hey, where are you living at now? Because we almost had to Google it. I forgot where you're living at nowadays.
I live in Los Angeles.
Oh
Snap!
How come I didn't know that? I thought you were in Canada for a little while, and you moved around a little bit, right? You were in New York City for a little while as well, or something like that, right? I don't remember.
Yeah, I was in New York for a while, and okay, cool. Okay, back to where I live.
Address too, please.
Ryan and I, we used to live in New York, and then we moved to Whistler, Canada, which if anybody who's listening to this has ever been there, it's the best place in the world. I'd say maybe it's better than LA. But it's a mountain town sort of north of Vancouver. So it's like 2 hours away from Vancouver. So you get the awesomeness of Vancouver, and that city's just so cool. And then Whistler, there's literally just really rich people or poor ski bums living there. And we were sort of in the middle, closer to the bum side of it. But yeah, we were living there and snowboarding a lot. He taught me how to snowboard. And yeah, we were living the dream. And then we realized that we need to work more. So we moved to LA.
I'm so bad with geography. That's the West Coast?
Yeah, it's the West Coast.
Okay.
People are always like, oh, you lived in Canada. Have you ever been to Toronto, Edmonton, or whatever? I'm like, I only go to the West Coast of Canada because it's the best part. I wouldn't waste my time anywhere else. I'm going to get a lot of people mad at me. I don't care.
So what's been going on? Like, we haven't seen you in a long time. It's been almost 3 years since you've been here at Super Training Gym, and kind of a lot has gone down. You were powerlifting and I guess maybe just like a lot of us trying to be a like fitness icon or fitness model or whatever you want to call it. And now you're doing all kinds of crazy things. So what's been going down?
Yeah. Fitness influencer. That's the word that they
There we go. I think that's what I was trying to do.
I don't know which is more pretentious, icon or influencer. But yeah, I'm trying my best, I guess. But yeah, last time I was down there, Ryan and I were talking about it, and I had just competed in a meet in, I think it was 2016. So I look back at those videos, I'm like, oh, I was so young looking and so stupid, I guess. But yeah, that was like, I don't want to say that was the beginning, but I feel like a completely different person now. That's how it should go. That's how it should be, I guess. But yeah, at that point, I think I was still living in New York, and Ryan at the time was working a crazy finance job. So he was working maybe like 70, 80 hours a week at this job. I never saw him despite us living together. And now he's working full time for me. So we have a coaching business that existed back then, but now he's working full time for that business. And then we have another business, Strong Supply, where we sell mostly like weightlifting gear for Olympic weightlifters. So, and yeah, we sell t-shirts and merch and all kinds of stuff. So
you want to know something awesome is that, and I've never shared this before, but you are the only person out of everybody that I've ever sponsored, out of everybody I've ever sent stuff to, out of anybody that I've ever helped out. You're the only person that ever called me and told me, he said, hey, you know what? I'm moving on. I'm going to do something because that's kind of my own. And I wanted to let you know because I appreciate your support. You're the only person that ever did that. Other people just screw you over.
Yeah, I mean,
they just all of a sudden start wearing something else or doing something else, and you're like, I don't remember how. Not that anybody owes me anything, but I really appreciated that. Thank you so much.
Well, good. I'm glad at least you remember that, because I know, when you start out, usually you have a lot of people who are excited about your progress and brands who want to get involved. And I think always from your end, it's always been from you and the team asking like, oh, how can we support you? Or at least usually it's like, do cool shit. How can we do cool shit with this person? And, you guys took me out to California, and I got to see the gym and meet a lot of those guys from bodybuilding.com. And that was big for me because I then went on to work with Keith and Candace on other projects. So that was big for me. And, whenever the idea of Strong Supply came along, I knew that we were starting with knee support. And so who do I know that makes knee support? My friend Mark Bell. And so it's never a thing where it's not like I was afraid to do it because I knew other people in the same kind of business, but it was something that it's like, I don't want to just one day become a competitive brand to someone who I respect and still want a relationship with. Like, I figured you would appreciate that more. And it was something that, I don't want to be like sneaky because I want to let my friends know also what's going on with me. I feel like it's a sneaky thing to one day be wearing your knee sleeves and then the next day, hey, I got my own that I'm, trying on. I don't think that's a genuine thing to do. So yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. I like I said, I appreciate that. And a lot of people just they're scared to kind of have that conversation. What's it like now, having your own business and, that style of communication is really effective for business. So, now I'm sure you guys have some employees. You have your boyfriend working directly for you, and communication is a huge part of it, right? You got to just go and tell someone what you like and what you don't like. How is that working out for you?
I'm lucky because I have two partners in that business. So Ryan is one of them. So that equipment business we all own together, which is cool because I couldn't and I don't want to do a lot of the hard stuff on my own, because I'm sure you've run into a lot of problems where you're the face of the company, but also you're the boss man. So being the boss man comes with a whole bag of problems. So it's difficult because I've had trouble. My brand is definitely maybe a bit more friendly than Mark Bell, right? So I'm known as this happy-go-lucky person who is just trying to help you feel better about yourself and help you do some awesome stuff. And then it's a hard thing when you got to put on the boss lady pants and kind of, I don't know, fire someone or tell someone when they're doing a shitty job. So I'm lucky that I have people around me who are equal partners in that business who can help do some of those less enticing parts of the business. But it's just a matter of having people around you who are your equal in one way or another.
What for you, since because I know when I saw you back in 2015, you were here, 16, you were still really well known at that point. And now you've been doing a lot of mainstream cool stuff. What's been the big things that's allowed you to progress consistently? Have you ever had a lull period where you didn't make content as much, or have you just always been going at it?
I always have the perspective that I don't know anything and I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm always trying to try something new. A small example, I was talking to Steffi Cohen and I was noticing, I'm like, fuck, this girl's posting on Instagram 80 times a day. And so I messaged her about it. I'm like, does that work out for you? Do you think that works out? She was telling me, she's like, oh yeah, it's so much better. She's showing me analytics of all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, me, idiot, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me try it. And it just has been a small thing that's helped so much and kind of pushing me to create more. And so I'm always open to new ideas and switching things up. So I always try to keep that perspective. I don't have it figured out. And I think with the way on some of these platforms like YouTube and Instagram, which are the ones that I'm mostly on, they're always changing anyway. So the moment you do have something figured out on how to be popular or get your face in front of people, it's going to change, the moment you think you figured that out. So I've always just been open to experimenting and trying new shit and talking about new stuff, always in the realm of fitness and getting people strong. But there are many ways to be strong, and that at least it makes my job a little bit easier.
So going back to that seminar in 2016, that was actually the first day that I had met Mark. So it's having you.
Oh,
yeah,
I think I remember.
That's crazy. So it's really special to have you on, because out of all the guests that we had there that day, you're the first one that I've actually been able to have on something that I am now a part of. Because back then I was just a fan taking pictures, and I actually almost got kicked out because nobody knew who I was. True story. But back then, did you have this? Was this the goal to start this whole company, or did something change? And did you see an opportunity kind of arise to where it made you think okay, maybe this isn't just about Instagram. I need to think bigger.
Yeah. I've always been a sort of long-term thinker, and I'm very aware of the fact that fitness, I think the longevity of it is increasing for many reasons, but I'm aware of the fact that I turned 30 last year, and do I want to be doing some of the things I'm doing when I'm 40? maybe not. So it's always been on my mind to try and find the long game and try and find my place that can be create for myself a career rather than just having a job. So that's always been on my mind. I'm always afraid that this is going to end any day now. So I'm just trying to maximize, what I can do day by day, and also figure out a life for myself and my family. And, now Ryan and I are, talking about having a family one day. So I want to hopefully create a life for myself now that can extend into my future. So yeah, that was always on my mind. Ever since I was a kid, I knew, not that I wanted to be, I knew that I was going to be famous in some way, one way or the other. It's like people nowadays always talk about zodiac signs, and I'm a Leo, and I don't believe in any of this, but Leos are known for loving attention and loving to be the center of attention. So I'm definitely that type of person in certain ways. So I knew that I was going to be famous, and I didn't realize that I was going to be this sort of weird fake pseudo fame in a awkward niche of society. But hey, I'll take it. I just knew that was going to be who I was.
Look, you signed autographs and taking pictures with people. You're famous, right?
That's what I'm saying. You go to Expo, there's 1,000 people there who know who I am.
You've sacrificed a lot and traveled a lot. What do you kind of, what do you share with people that are trying to get ahead, people that are trying to figure it out? Maybe someone that's in the spot that you were in maybe 5 years ago. It's not easy, right? You got to put yourself out there. You got to get to these seminars. You got to rub elbows with different people. And it seems like you've been obsessed with that for a long time now, where you try to go around to different gyms and different facilities and see different businesses and meet different people. All that is a huge aspect of all this, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And I think at the beginning, especially, you have to take advantage of that however you best can. And that was momentum that definitely helped me get to where I am now. I travel a lot less now because I'm busier with work, because now I have 2 businesses to take care of. But when I first got started, it was every month I was in a new city trying to collaborate with someone new and, trying to go to different places and learn as much as I could, but also meet a lot of people in the industry, which is cool, because when you have that momentum, other people want to meet you too. So yeah, but it definitely gets exhausting. And I know you guys know, every time I see you at the expo, when we're setting up, I'll come say hi to the crew and say what's up to Nsima and say hey to Smokey and everyone. And then I never see them again until we're breaking down. So it's not like you're just busy that entire time. So those are exhausting, but definitely worth it. And yeah, I'm always anxious getting to those expos, because I'm okay, the next 3 or 4 days, I'm going to be dead tired, and I'm going to lose my voice by the end of it. And I'm going to probably get all these germs from all these weird people, but definitely worth it. And if that's the worst part of my job, then it's I have a pretty cool job then, but yeah, I think if anyone's watching this and they want to emulate that sort of success and get that momentum, that's key to just finding that momentum and keep building on that week after week.
I remember back there was 14 or 15. I was seeing you on all of these different YouTube channels, Max Tuning, and then another channel, and then another channel. I'm how is this girl getting and finding all these different people? And then also I think my question here would be, how did you go about just reaching out to everybody? Did you just send out a bunch of messages and see what came back? Or how was your process for that? Because a lot of people maybe aren't confident enough in themselves to be able to just reach out and potentially not get anything back. So how did you go about doing that? What was your strategy?
I lucked out. I had a week where Chrissy May Cagney was in town for some sort of donuts and deadlifts event. Max Tuning had just moved to DC and he was looking for gyms. And I was on his comments come to my gym, come to my gym. And people on his comments were also saying the same thing. You should check out where Meg trains. And then I went to, do you remember the Grid League?
Yeah, absolutely.
Those were awesome to watch, but I went to one of those And I just got Dmitry Klokov in like I talked to him and he was my clickbait for a certain video, right? And those were like happened one right after the other. And I, was working on, I hate to say working on Max, but I saw him touring my gym when I was training, and I went up to him and talked to him and just kind of, I gave him a tour and told him like, oh, well, I film in this area and like this is a good strategy. Like you should probably come at this time. It's when it's quiet. So, I was just trying to be chummy with him, and he's a really cool guy, laid back and easy to get along with. So that was easy. And then Chrissy, I was so awkward, and she probably thought like, wow, this girl is such a fucking creep. Like she had to have thought that. But I really just forced her to be in a video of mine, like actually forced her to be in a video of mine. And those three just kind of came one after the other. I was really nervous to talk to Chrissy, really nervous. Max, it was no big deal because I knew that there was potential of him coming to train with me. And then Dmitry Klokov, I was like, I'm never going to fucking see this guy again. So might as well just ask him a stupid question. So it's a lot of courage and kind of putting aside your feelings. I think anyone I'm sure a lot of people who have to do presentations at work even know that kind of pressure and stress. You just kind of got to say, fuck it. I'm just going to do what I need to do. So it was that. And also I had already created a body of work. So it wasn't like I was completely random. There were only so many people who had a YouTube channel about lifting anyway. So that made it really easy. I usually suggest if people want to collaborate with others, then create that body of work. You have to have something to show like, I am serious about this. I have been doing this for a while. Definitely Max would not have done a proper video with me. And it's one of his highest viewed videos, his collaboration with me on his channel. And he wouldn't have done that had I not already been a YouTuber and had he not already seen that I created stuff on my own. So yeah, sometimes people think like, oh, if I just do a collaboration, then I'll make it. And that was huge for me, but it wouldn't have happened without all the other, like I had made 50 videos before the opportunity.
So now you have more eyeballs on you than ever, and you've gotten with some pretty big brands and things like that. That's amazing, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But how do you deal with body image issues? And we talked a little bit before you came on the show about you winning the bodybuilding.com challenge, and you maybe attack that maybe a little differently than some of the other girls did. How do you kind of deal with, body image issues, or how do you help other women deal with body image issues when they come to you and things like that?
I think it's always been about lifting and taking the focus off of how I look and putting it more on something that seems a little more badass, getting strong. You only look good for so long in your life, but you can actually be strong for your entire life, or the rest of your life, right? So it's always been about performance, and I'm still a girly girl. I like makeup and I like things like that. And obviously we all like to look good, but I usually look for, in conversations, I look for interesting people, and I think being just beautiful is kind of boring anyway. So, you might as well find something that you can call yourself a badass. And that's always been the focus for me. And I've always tried to have fun with what I'm doing, and beauty only goes so far in the fun category. So it's always been about lifting and getting strong and just having a good time. So that's always been the focus for me. That's what I look for in the people who are around me. Yeah, I think that answers it.
How do you manage that, with the butt photos on Instagram versus, having a particular message about being a strong and powerful woman? Like, you might have one post where you're like, I'm not ashamed of my body. Maybe my legs are a little thicker because I've been powerlifting for years. And then the next post, I'm not saying you in particular, I'm just saying, from what I've seen in general on Instagram, if I was to zoom in on girls' butts on Instagram, which I don't because I'm married, but I'm saying hypothetically speaking, if I was to do that, that's a lot of what may be seen on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll have some people who kind of paint me as a saint sometimes, and I'll post an informational video and I'll get some comments that I always respond to because I don't want people to get it twisted. I had one girl, she was like, I'm so glad you're so different from those other girls who post soft pork corn. Soft pork corn?
Hey,
it sounds great. I'll eat that corn all day long. Sounds great.
She's saying, I'm so glad you're not like the other girls who post all these butt shots. And I'm like, hey, I'll dabble in the soft core every once in a while. Like, don't get it twisted. So I'm definitely not a person who's only obsessed with strength, right? Like, I'm still a woman. And I think being a woman comes with a lot of contradiction. And luckily in 2019, we get to choose which contradictions we want to subscribe to. So, I like to keep a balance. I like the focus of my page to be about teaching people and inspiring them. In fitness, you can inspire people by having an amazing body and by having a strong body. So that's always been a cool part of it. And I think, choosing to be a powerlifter or choosing to be in the strength world or even as a bodybuilder rather than like a bikini or like fitness competitor, you do kind of have this line of like, oh, you're really hot, but also you're really jacked. So it's like a different kind of hot where you don't really look like a porn star. I don't know. That's just how I see it. I don't know if that like anyone thinks that, but it lends itself to having a little bit more masculine of a look, not masculine in a bad way, but you're just bigger and more jacked. So maybe people associate you as not being a porn star or having that kind of look.
I think, a lot of people identify with what you're saying. I think when you see somebody that maybe just has athleticism, it ups their value to you. A girl might be a 6, but if she's deadlifting, she might be an 8. That sort of thing.
Hey, and guys too, it goes the same way, right? A guy might be deadlifting 135 and he's a 6, but if he has 500 pounds on the bar, he might be a 7 or an 8.
I'm curious, what about the bench press? No, I'm just kidding.
Nobody cares about that.
I got some work to do then.
Yeah.
What about the opposite comments? The typical troll who's going to see you stronger than him and automatically, make the typical, like, oh, I can't wait to see how big her dick is.
I think it's gotten to the point where those comments are just kind of boring. So it's not really even that interesting to engage. Now, when someone gets a little creative, that's when I will engage. So, and usually I try to just send a jab back, right? But I don't get as many of those anymore, I think, because I think it is just kind of played out and boring. So yeah, I mean, after a while, once you get those repeat comments, you really don't pay attention to them because it's boring, right? So it's not even a thought in your mind. So yeah, it doesn't really bother me.
And was it like that early on as well? Because I know there's like there's some females that are listening that they want to be strong, they want to get strong. They might have a dad or an uncle or a brother or even a significant other that's questioning them. Why do you want to get strong? Why do you want to look like a dude? Like, how did you have the confidence to kind of like not even subscribe to that bullshit?
I'd always been interested in being a jacked chick, and I was lucky because I had other jacked chicks around me. Nice. So I think on the last podcast we mentioned China, and I think China was probably the wrestler. Was probably one of the first.
She was jacked. She was very jacked. Yeah,
she's jacked. When I look back though at pictures of China, I'm like, she's really tall, right? She was like 6 foot.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't look that crazy big. I think just back then we didn't see jack chicks just didn't really exist that much. But I remember, seeing her and always being maybe not like, oh, I want my body to look like that, but interested, like, oh, that's kind of cool and weird. I like that she's doing that. When I was a little kid, obviously, like, when she was wrestling, I was really young. And then whenever I started getting into fitness, I started with CrossFit, and my coach, her name's Danielle Dion, and I talk about her all the time, but she was shredded and jacked, and she was a CrossFit athlete. And so she was kind of there, and I knew that I would never be as big as her. I just knew. So I was like, she trains really hard and harder than I probably ever will. So let me just try to train a little bit and see what happens, because I'd like to get in the middle of where she is. Now, I might be a little bit bigger than her now that I think about it, but she might come and slap me in my face for saying that. But
Yeah.
Back then, were you skinny fat, trying to be a cardio bunny like a lot of girls fall into?
Yeah. Before I got into a gym, I was running. I did a half marathon with my mom, actually. And, in college, I ran cross country, and in high school, I ran cross country. I was under the assumption that that's how you got skinny or lost weight, was just with running. So it wasn't until I stepped into a gym and tried CrossFit that I was like, oh, that's how you actually can control how your body looks.
Did you like run and not eat, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it never got to be too bad. It was probably more like I ate less than what I should have, but I didn't know anything about nutrition. I didn't know anything about macros. I remember when I was running, telling someone else that there was fat in a banana. I was just an idiot, right? I didn't know. I was like, no, bananas have fat in them, So I was just an idiot.
Hey, some fruit has fat in it, like olives and avocados. So,
See,
you never know.
I wasn't too far from the truth.
How does your diet actually look like now? Because I saw a recent video where you were mentioning how like you got lean without really feeling like you were dieting. So what did that transition look like for you? Because obviously I'm guessing when you were doing like the bikini shows and stuff, that was pretty rough. But now you've been able to achieve a great physique and you don't feel like you're dieting?
Right. I did do bikini, and I dieted really hard for that. And counting macros was big for me, and understanding how to balance those. But that wasn't sustainable. So after that, I had the traditional, dumb journey of someone who's like, yeah, I'm going to bodybuild, doesn't know what she's doing, and rebounding from that. So after that rebound, it did take me a while to kind of get a hold on what I was doing. And I think that was like 4 or 5 years ago now. So I probably have, I wish I would have done a body fat analyzation at that time, but I probably have a good 10 pounds of lean body mass added to my body, along with just more awareness of how to control it. So now I do, I'm on a diet, and it's called reeling it in. So I just reel things in after coming off of a couple weeks of traveling and eating like shit. You just reel it in and try to clean things up where you can, and you just grab the lowest hanging fruit whenever you sort of have that awareness. Now, unfortunately, it takes some time to get there. And, I think what I've learned is that people can definitely do that without, spending 5 years in the gym. You can kind of grab those lowest hanging fruit and try to figure things out and make it work for your lifestyle. But I wouldn't be able to do that without the muscle mass that I have. And that took 6 years to build. So yeah, I think it just gets so much easier whenever you finally get jacked. And now usually I'm bulking around this time, because I usually compete every year in one powerlifting meet a year. But I'm not doing that anymore. Or I'm not doing that this year. Let me clarify. This year I'm taking off, so I'm not currently bulking in the summer, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to lean into my sort of homeostasis that I'm feeling right now.
Yeah. What do you see as like, because you were competing every single year, and you did mention like in the long term by 40, you don't necessarily see yourself doing as much, work as you are now, like a job. So with the impact that you've managed to have within the powerlifting community, I saw in a Washington Post article, they mentioned like back in 15, it was 4 or 14, it was like 4-1 in terms of men and women in powerlifting. And now it's 2-1. And honestly, I think you have a big role in that. So what do you see your impact being, or what do you want your impact to be 5 and 10 years from now?
So I've sort of redefined my mission. It was always along these lines, but I think when I first started, I was really obsessed with powerlifting personally, and the goal was always to get more people in the sport. And I think now that's been redefined to be like, I want to get more barbells in the hands of women, because although I love the sport of powerlifting and it'll always be in my life, even after I'm done with YouTube and Instagram and like posting my butt selfies, I'll probably still powerlift and I'll probably compete in one way or the other. But I think there are plenty of people who just have no interest in competing in a meet, or, you know, just don't feel like it. I think those people should still get strong, and I want to get them interested in the squat, bench, and deadlift, which, you know, some people just refer to powerlifting as training in those three. I personally refer to powerlifting and competing in those three. So yeah, now it's just about trying to get the general population interested in just lifting and getting strong.
Yeah, I think that you know, when I started powerlifting when I was young, it was a newer thing to have bench only, and it was like sacrilegious. People were like, "What's going on? You can't have people come in and just bench." And so before that time, you had to squat, you had to deadlift, and a lot of guys would kind of just take like a minimal squat, minimal deadlift, and they would just do the meet and they'd have a total. But then they brought in bench only, and bench only was an invitation to bring in more lifters, because there were a lot of guys and a lot of girls that were just strong in their upper body, and, you know, maybe they hurt their knee, or we've heard all the excuses on why people don't squat and deadlift and stuff like that. But I think that that's a good message, that we need to be as inviting as possible. So I like what you're saying, and it's like, let's figure out how to help somebody, whether we help them with diet, or whether we tell them to go for a walk, or whether we tell them to, you know, go to a gym, find a trainer, go to a CrossFit gym, or, you know, go to a gym and just try a bunch of different machines. They're sort of idiot proof, you know, wherever you kind of tell someone to start, but you just invite them into the gym. And I always think that, training and fitness should be like a religion, where, you know, like you invite somebody into church and you're like, no, man, I'm telling you, it's cool. Like, we're not going to like hold you down and like make you come the next time, but you know full well that that's exactly what's going to happen. And hopefully you bring someone in, you're super inviting, oh, dude, it's not going to be that hard. And we all know eventually it has to get hard. Eventually there has to be some resistance for you to get the results you're really looking for, you know. But I think that we should all be more inviting. We should all try to get more barbells in people's hands, as you said.
Yeah, and that's always been the goal. That's why I'm trying to, you know, right now I'm making a lot of videos that I think for intermediate or advanced powerlifters, they might seem obvious, but for a lot of people who run my programs, that's exactly what they need to hear, and they need to see in a very simple video with an X on it what they're doing wrong, and like a really just basic communication of what they can do to make it right. So yeah, I've been doing more videos like that and trying to just fuck around and explore what professional athletes or movie stars are doing to get strong, and researching what their trainers are having them do, to get people who want to watch the next Marvel movie and want to, you know, they like someone's body on it. I want to show them like, this is, they're lifting, you know, it's not just because Brie Larson might be, you know, sort of a more thin, lean actress. She's out there lifting heavy stuff. She's pushing her Range Rover up the hill, you know, she's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's cool to try to explore things like that, to try to get the general population interested in understanding what those people are doing to look better.
Yeah, there's a lot of people flipping tires and, you know, using sledgehammers and doing some strongman training and all different kinds of stuff like that. What does your training look like right now?
Right now, I am focused on the squat, bench, and deadlift, and just trying to get stronger in those. I took a little bit of time after powerlifting nationals in October. I just had some like owies, like my shoulder wasn't feeling great and my knees weren't feeling great. And I don't think it was anything serious going on. I just needed a little bit of a break. So I took a vacation and like trained biceps forever and, you know, just had some fun in the gym. And then I came back and just started, you know, doing my same old training. So I just focus everything around getting stronger in squat, bench, and deadlift. Some adjustments because I'm not training for powerlifting competition. Some conventional deadlifting, which makes the internet happier. And I'm, you know, doing more high bar squats and, you know, just having more fun with training. Right now I'm focused on a little bit of a pull-up challenge. I'd like to get my pull-ups together and get a bigger set there. So
I saw some massive failure going on with that pull-up challenge.
yeah, well, my max set, well,
you fell apart in one of the videos I watched.
yeah, you know.
We said 12.
Yeah, my max set is 12. It's almost 13.
No,
but
that's
I can't
awesome.
count them.
Actually,
I'm like,
that's good.
I'm like almost at the 13th rep, but I wouldn't dare count that like 80% of a rep. So yeah, I'm trying to get to a 15 rep set. I think that's a great goal for me. So yeah, I mean, that's also stuff where it's like in powerlifting season, I'm never focused on really trying to push my pull-ups hard. So this is giving me an opportunity to do that and try to, you know, look better and feel healthier. I've been doing yoga too, like
Cool.
recently.
I'm glad that you didn't say, because like a lot of times when I run into people that are like building a business, or in your case, building businesses, a lot of times I hear people say, oh, you know, I took time off to focus on my business, and they're getting out of shape and they're kind of, they're not in the gym. And so I commend you on that. That's awesome. I think that's the way to do it. Is there's no reason for you to get too far away from kind of who you really are. You said you love powerlifting. You said that you'll probably do it even after YouTube and after, you know, you're done doing stuff on Instagram and stuff like that. And so I think that's really important. I think people get away from it. And I've heard actually some of the best fitness coaches in the world and some of the best nutritionists in the world kind of say those things. And I always thought that's not right. That's not the right way to handle it. And you as a professional should be ashamed of that, in my opinion, because you should be leaning into the resistance harder than ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy thing to do and say. I think we are so obsessed. I have to catch myself from saying it too much. Like, oh, I'm so busy. Like, I'm so stressed and busy.
No, you ain't. You ain't the Rock, right?
Right?
You ain't the president, right?
Exactly. And, you know, I think I'm truly blessed to be able to have the job that I have, but there's no denying that if I'm not Meg Squats, then that job is probably going to be over. So I do need to keep that up if you think about it on the business side. But also I feel like shit and I'm not productive if I'm not training. I just do. And I've definitely had my moments. And after nationals, you know, I took a solid vacation. I didn't see the inside of a gym for 2 weeks. And then whenever, you know, I got more settled down, I could focus and just have some fun. But also, like, I've been forcing myself to go to yoga because I don't wake up early enough. So I'm like, okay, let me set the alarm, and these yoga fuckers are going to be real sad if I don't show up at this yoga class. So it's like a way to keep myself more accountable.
Being in LA, you have a garage gym, right?
Yeah, I do.
So why? Because you have a lot of great gyms by you. Why'd you choose to do the garage thing?
I think it was something that we always wanted to do. And yeah, there are a lot of great gyms, but see, you guys are lucky. You get to have your gym, and having cameras around is no big deal, and you own the place. But Jesus Christ, I feel so terrible when I'm trying to record a video and someone's in the background, and, you know, I'm bothering people trying to get their workout in, and, you know, I don't want to do that. I do this because I want people to enjoy being in the gym, and I don't want to be a burden for anyone else. And it's great to just like open my garage, and it's like time to get to work. And I just trained with, so the partners of Strong Supply, we are the 3 members of my garage gym. So I get to train with, you know, my business partners and my best friends, and have people over, and we'll like eat after. So It's great. Yeah, I could train. Like I've gone to Barbell Brigade. There's a gym that's really close to me. That's amazing, different breed. And of course, Gold's is right here. But Gold's is so crazy and busy, and it's hard to do the kind of videos that I do now in places like that because it is more. Well, the production quality is a little bit higher, so it sounds a little bit better. So, being at places like that, you just can't control everything. So this is a place where I can control what I'm doing and, get sort of like just go to work and not have, any outside forces sort of getting in the way of what I need to do.
How are you able to land some of these big sponsorships, like getting with Special K? I don't remember seeing any other powerlifter with a big company like that. So how did that work out?
Yeah, Special K was like definitely a moment for me and in my career. That brand deal was a result of a program that I was invited to do with YouTube. So YouTube was looking to create a cohort of female creators on the platform. And I was there, I showed up and I was like, I can't believe I'm among these other 11 women. They were Iskra Lawrence, who's a famous supermodel, was in the group. Another woman, Akilah Hughes, who's a comedian, and she's been in a ton of like amazing productions. Joanna Houseman, she's hilarious, and she's also a comedian. She's in Bill Nye's series on Netflix. I was like with real famous people for a little while there, and I did the cohort with them the entire time. I'll be honest with you, I felt like in way over my head. These people actually have been on movie sets. They know how to do this. They know what they're doing. I'm like way behind everyone. And the point of that program was to get us together weekly, and we would be creating something to pitch to a brand. So the idea was YouTube mentored us to get us ready to pitch to big brands like that. And I didn't even pitch to Kellogg's, but Kellogg's was looking for athletes to sponsor for a campaign that they had. And I ended up sending them my presentation, and they liked the presentation but didn't buy the project that I was selling. So they took me on for this campaign that they had with Shawn Johnson, who's an Olympic a gymnast, and I think she's an Olympic gold medalist several times over. And another creator, and we did a commercial. I did a commercial with Special K, which was crazy. And it was such a cool thing to be a part of. And I got to deadlift in a video that like was on the front page of YouTube.
Yeah.
Like when you open youtube.com, it was me, my face, and I was deadlifting in it, which was awesome. Don't tell anybody that they were fake plates. But I was deadlifting them, and that was so cool. I know I was sumo deadlifting, so
cheater.
For all my people out there, you got your moment in the spotlight.
Quite literally think that was the first time that I've seen powerlifting and something that was like on the mainstream, which is kind of crazy. Like you're the first person I think to do that, right?
In that sense, yeah.
Yeah, maybe in a cereal commercial kind of way.
Yeah, but don't forget, I've been in a fucking movie.
That's
buddy.
true. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that might be cool.
Don't fire me for that.
Yeah, it was, just on a big screen across the nation. No, not a big deal. But it was before Instagram and before YouTube and all that stuff. Well, maybe not before YouTube, but before Instagram.
Before Instagram.
Anyway,
yeah.
No, that's points on the scoreboard for all of us, though. And I think people make the mistake of they get jealous, and they see that and like, how do I do that? And here they are trying to call Kellogg's or trying to message them or whatever, right? And so, but it's a mistake to kind of think that way. It's points up on the scoreboard for all of powerlifting. It will help all of us. It will raise all the ships.
Yeah, I definitely benefited from it. I got paid a lot of money to do that, which is amazing. And of course that money doesn't just go straight to my pocket. That goes to help me create more stuff and make better products that I can make cheaper or whatever. So I definitely benefited more than anyone did. But yeah, I think the goal for me, and I was really proud to see the final commercial. And, you know, you've got me, a USAPL powerlifter, next to an Olympic gymnast who has won tons of gold medal, like has won so many awards and was in her prime was really famous. So, you know, that was really cool. I remember there was a couple girls who were powerlifters and they were like making fun of me, and someone had sent me a screenshot of it or something. And I was like, who are these girls? You know, let me go check them out. And, you know, I was like, oh, okay, they're kind of strong. They probably know what they're talking about. But they were just saying like, oh, you know, this cereal sucks or whatever, stupid stuff. And then like they were making fun of me because I was getting paid for it, right? So I was making money for doing this commercial, which I think is a lot of, right? I think that's the big qualm for people who, you know, they don't like to see sponsored stuff. But then like 3 weeks later, the same girl, she created a GoFundMe to go to her powerlifting meet.
Oh my God.
So I was like,
fun.
oh man, that you just proved and showed me so many things. Like, it's not fair for me to earn this money, but it's okay for you to ask for it from other people. So yeah, that was like, I thought about donating for the rest of her trip that she needed, but I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take it away from her completely.
Yeah.
People are so weird with stuff like that. Like, you know, Kellogg's, they, you know, commission you to do this thing. And, like, what are you supposed to do? Turn down the money? Like, hey, we're going to do this really cool commercial and we're going to put you on the front page of YouTube. And guess what? You also get paid a lot of money for like being part of this whole thing. You're going to be like, no, I'm cool. Cause I don't want to be like a sellout. I don't want Instagram to find out. No one would turn it down. Give me a break.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who had the opportunity would, and were in my position, they would see all the good things about it. And I mean, I think over the time, because I don't want to say a lot, but I definitely do sponsored videos to try and offset a lot of the things that I invest in creating them. So I figured out ways to make it more appropriate. I don't want to say appropriate. Found ways to make it less annoying for people, because I think I've definitely done videos where people are like, this is an ad, you know, and they get upset. But I've figured out ways to make it more clear that I'm getting paid to do something, and, you know, figured out ways to make it less annoying.
I think,
for people who are watching.
I think nowadays, you know, there is more commercial activity now. So if it's a direct commercial, I've recognized that people are kind of less like insulted by it. They're less annoyed with it, versus like, you know, this cereal's how I got my body. Then they're like, come on, like you're just kind of advertising that because you're obligated to, right? So I think there's definitely some ways to play with it. And then obviously you add humor into the mix and you can kind of get away with anything. So if you have fun with it, then you can kind of get away with it, right?
Yep, I agree.
Do you think you're going to be, or like ever do anything else athletically other than powerlifting? Do you think you might ever step back and try out some CrossFit? Because you're already doing a bunch of different type of stuff in terms of fitness on your channel. But do you think you'll compete at anything in the future, or anything else? I'd say.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the idea. I think this year for me, I am investing more time to my education as a trainer and a coach. So I don't think anything in the close future, but I'm definitely open to doing things. When I first got started, I did CrossFit. I did a strongman show. You know, I did strongman kind of like side shows and events at other meets. And I've done weightlifting as well. Weightlifting, I feel like, is so hard on your body.
Brutal, yeah.
And it's completely infuriating. So I don't know if that'd be the first thing I'd turn to, but I'm definitely open to, you know, I'll never say never. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like new stuff is coming up all the time, and people are creating weird, fun, crazy ways to get involved in competition. So who knows, by the time I'm in the Masters division, which honestly isn't that far away, who knows what will be here. So yeah, I'll never say never.
What are you doing in terms of like your education that you said you're focusing on? What are you going towards right now?
So I'm currently studying for the precision nutrition certification.
Oh, cool.
So that's
John Berardi, right? John
yes,
Berardi.
exactly.
Yeah, cool.
And I met Dr. John Berardi and I had no fucking clue who he was.
The stud.
And I was, you know, I was at some sort of like fitness conference that my friend was speaking at. And this is like maybe 3 years ago now. And I'm just talking to this really nice Canadian guy and he's asking me about my business. I'm like, so what do you do? And then,
my God.
you know, he tells me, and he's such a nice guy. I doubt he would remember me. He tells me everything. He's like, yeah, I own a business. You know, we're up in Canada doing all this. And then like 2 days later, he's the headliner speaking at the conference. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
You're like, whoops.
And, you know, I'd never been too interested in doing nutrition coaching, but I think it's been, even if I don't think I'll coach one-on-one that much, but for my channel, and, you know, if I'm going to ever talk about what I'm eating, even for pre-workout and post-workout nutrition, I think it is the more responsible thing for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I like learning and, so I'm studying for that right now. I'm about halfway through. So I think out of like 70 questions, like assessment questions, I've gotten 2 wrong so far. So I'm on my way to passing. I'm working on that currently. And then I am interested in eventually getting my CSCS, which is a huge undertaking that I'm a little bit nervous for. So I'm going to get the precision first. And I'll be attending the NSCA conference this year. It's in Washington, D.C. And I think that'll be a good way to open myself up to a lot of expert trainers. I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect between your expert trainer and your Instagram social media trainer. And not that I think I'm going to ever close that gap, but I've been personally trying to figure out, you know, like, who should I be following that really knows their stuff, not just who should I be following that has an awesome body and inspires me to, you know, do new stuff. I've always been like a huge fan of Paul Carter. I love that guy. I think he's so amazing, lift, run, bang. And, you know, I've always been interested in people like him. So yeah, I'm just stoked to learn more and kind of dive into the education side of it. As I move forward with coaching and, you know, continuing to talk about the more technical side of what we're doing.
Oh man, this is going to taint everything you know about everybody. Once you start, like you mentioned the gaps between like kind of somebody that's supporting people and helping people on Instagram versus like, someone who's training people inside of a gym. Once you see what strength conditioning coaches can do, like especially real ones, it's unbelievable. There's some really, really awesome, like the amount of stuff that they know and then the different categories that each one kind of specializes in. It's just off the charts. It's really remarkable. There's some really great people. I can direct you towards a few that I have a lot of respect for. Coach House is one of them, our guy out in, he coaches the Carolina Panthers. And he's been with them for like the last, like 10, 15 years or something like that. So, you know, if you can keep a job in the NFL for a decade, you know you're doing something right. You know, there's some really, really awesome people out there.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I might not be training professional athletes on that level. I definitely won't be doing that. Let's be clear. But when I make these videos like Train Like a Pro, or I'm trying the NFL Combine with Jen Thompson and she's doing the 225 bench press, to have the perspective or at least the network of people to make that video better and more interesting and always coming back to strength and conditioning. I think, you know, investing in my education now will just further all of the things that I've already been doing. Not that I need to do them. Like I could just fuck around and train in the gym and people would watch it. But I think, you know, this is just really where my personal interest has been taking me. So yeah, I'm excited obviously I have a personal training certification and I'm certified by the USAPL as a club coach now. But I think, you know, investing more will just make things better and more interesting. I think it'll make the products that I create better too. And just be able to relate with a wider, you know, variety of athletes.
How did the idea come about to start your own brand? You know, Nsima kind of mentioned, like, did you see a kind of a earlier? Did you see kind of a hole in the marketplace, or was it something specific that you kind of came across just in your own training? Maybe you had certain type of pain or something like that, and you wanted to solve maybe your own owies, so to speak.
So Strong Supply started with one product, and I guess that's kind of similar to the origin story of Slingshot. So, I mean, not quite, because I don't think we've sold as many, at least not now. But there was we'll get there. We'll try to catch up one day. But we started with a knee wrap that was mostly worn by weightlifters. And it was a brand before called Kilos Not Pounds. So if there's any weightlifters watching this, they've probably heard of that company. And it was owned by a friend of ours, a friend that we work with too now. And he was ready to kind of move on. And so we acquired that one product from him and started to sell it and rebrand. And, you know, the weightlifters went crazy because we were able to fix a lot of the production holdups that the company was experiencing. They couldn't sell them or create them quick enough. So we were able to invest a little bit more and kind of fix some of those problems. Good problem to have, obviously. And, you know, from my perspective, I'm like, why do these weightlifters love this so much? You know, these elite athletes who are at the very, very top of their level, there must be a reason. So I started training in them in my off season when I had higher volume training. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty sick. I can control the pressure of how much I want to wrap on certain parts of my knee. It's not just one sleeve, I mean, it's not quite a powerlifting wrap. It's definitely a lighter duty than, an equipped powerlifting wrap. But so I was training in them in powerlifting off season. And then I was like, dude, these are so easy. They don't stink. You can wash them in in the washer, like regular laundry, which you can't really do with sleeves. I'm like, this is the easiest thing for an average person to just keep in their gym bag. It doesn't take up any space. So we started marketing them more for the average gym goer, which I think helped a lot. And it's always about how can we create products that the average gym goer can use, but also an elite athlete who's trying to win, medals at weightlifting nationals. How can they, still get the most out of what they need? Obviously, there's a big overlap there. People can use the same equipment. We started with just that one product and then have expanded and continued to develop more. And that's just where it started. I have two partners, Ryan and Eric, who, those guys make everything happen. Ryan does most of the product development. And I don't even know what I do for the company anymore, to be honest with you.
That was going to be my next question, is like, how businessy is Meg Squats? Now, you have a graphic design background though, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
how businessy were you in the beginning rather than like now? Because now it sounds like you are you're the brand and you're kind of indulging on things that you feel that will still help expand the brand, but maybe some of it's more indirect, because like YouTube and things like that, they're not like, it's not a direct sales pitch. It's and even your Instagram, all these things are kind of indirect. Then you got everybody else taking care of like the direct stuff. How businessy were you in the beginning?
Oh, I would have liked to tell you that I was like very, I guess you could say I'm business minded. Am I good at business? Probably not, to be honest. And like, I know other people who own businesses will tell you like they've got stuff figured out, but I don't have shit figured out. And if I didn't have those other two guys helping me every step of the way and kind of moving things along for that business, I wouldn't have even started. I wouldn't have even thought about starting. On the accounting side and taxes and all that boring stuff, I'm terrible at it. I don't particularly enjoy the production side of things and the manufacturing side of things. That stuff is terrible. That stuff is such a pain in the ass. That's why Ryan does it. So on my end, I obviously bring the consumer to our products. And yeah, it is a lot of indirect marketing. I definitely do a lot on the design side, and I do push forward creative projects, but those guys run most of the business, like a huge part of the business. And I'm thankful for that because I don't want to do a lot of that shit, you know? I mean, I'd love to tell people that I'm this amazing, you know, business lady, but I don't know if I want to be, you know? I mean, I definitely am always interested in growth and figuring out what I can do to make things better for my consumer. And on the coaching end, I'm always concerned with how happy our clients are and if they're getting what they need. But as far as like the back end of running a business, I'm not great. That's why I have partners. And, you know, I know that's the hardest part is finding partners that you can trust. And it's not easy. But I'm lucky. I know two of the smartest people that I've ever met in my life. Those are the guys running my business.
You
It's a great way to do it. Yeah.
Right now, like you mentioned that you really love the coaching aspect of things, and obviously it's such a big brand at this point. Who is it, yourself and Ryan, or do you guys have more coaches that work with the athletes that you guys coach?
It's myself and Ryan. Ryan's currently writing the current blocks of Stronger by the Day. We have like a team membership program, and that's how we coach most of our athletes. And Ryan's writing that program right now, and he's like, you know, managing my fatigue. And so if I'm too fatigued, then we know to bring things down for the next block of training. So he's currently in charge of that. And then of course, like I'm, you know, helping write. And a lot of the times my position on the coaching side is there for additional support and like emotional support. Because we are dealing with lifters who are just getting started. And so when you're just getting started, you have a lot of uncertainty around the barbell and uncertainty about who you are just in general. So it is a little bit of like life coaching that I feel like we're doing sometimes, which is great because I love stuff like that. I love to be the person that's there for someone else. So we do have an assistant coach, Lizzie, who's she's amazing power lifter and a bodybuilder as well. Freza Fuerte on Instagram, if you guys want to follow her. So she's our assistant coach, and we're, you know, bringing her on to do more as we continue to grow.
You mentioned earlier in the podcast your brand kind of representing like you know, being friendly and being kind, you know, strong. It's like a, you know, little play on words. But you weren't always that way. Is that right? Like, when we did the last podcast, you kind of pointed out that you maybe had a lot of anger when you were younger and you got into some scuffles and stuff like that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I was just an idiot, right? I was just a dumb kid for most of my life. And I don't want to say I had a rough childhood because my mom was always there for me and really supportive. But, you know, we had some domestic violence issues when I was growing up. I was always around violence and drugs as well. So I don't think I ever really understood the right way to deal with your problems or the right way to deal with conflict. And, you know, I struggle with it even to this day. You know, I have a terrible memory. I can't remember anything. And that's not diagnosed. This is my excuse for having a bad memory, but I do blame that on, you know, some traumatic is drastic, but I guess we could call them traumatic moments when I was younger and when I was a kid. And, I mean, that followed me through college, and in college, I got kicked out of my dorms in college. Thank God I didn't get kicked out of school because I was in a domestic violence dispute with my partner at the time. And I mean, that sucked because I continued to pay for like my fee for the dorms, and then I had to pay on rent on top of that. And I grew up really poor. Like I didn't have much money at that time. So, you know, I was just a huge bitch, and I didn't know how to deal with my anger and had a lot of it. And I didn't have much of an outlet, and I didn't understand how to express myself. So I don't know. I can't say really that was like solved by lifting or anything. But lifting and understanding community in the gym definitely helped. I think when I was in the podcast, I talked about I got jumped one time, and I got my ass kicked bad because I was talking shit to these three big bitches. I wasn't listening at the time, but I wish I would have been, because I would have dared a little bit. But yeah, I got my ass kicked. And that was a moment for me where I was like, dude, I can't keep doing this. Like, I just can't keep being whoever I am right now. And it's not like that was a complete turning point for me, because I remember like a year or so after that, I was like threatening people and just always doing crazy shit. Like, I was always just doing crazy shit and, terrible. But I think I matured just as a person, and also understood that you can't get away with that shit when you're, under the age or over the age of 18. So yeah, it took a while for me to finally control things. And I'll be honest with you, I had like a Hulk freak out moment like 3 months ago, like a real episode. And it's not like I'm hitting anyone, but I was like yelling at my business partners. I told you they're the smartest people. So they're probably like, this girl's lost her mind, And I was just, I just don't know how to control that sometimes. And so that I've gotten back on meditating, and it's a constant battle for me in my life. But yeah, I try my best though. I'm not a perfect person. But I do try my best. And I do think that when I found lifting really at a time when I needed to, and I'm sure there's so many people who are in that same kind of place where they don't really understand what they're doing. They might have a lot of emotion or aggression, and the gym is a great place to let that out and to find a community of people who are maybe in the same spot. So however welcoming I can be to let those people know that this place is still here for you, even though it might not seem that way sometimes. That's always been the mission, to try and get people.
You mentioned that you got back onto meditating. And I think when a lot of people look at people like yourself, Mark, high performers with multiple businesses, they really want to understand, like, what are the habits that you have that maybe help you out with your moods or with productivity, etc. So are there things that you continuously do, or like skills that you've developed that's allowed you to produce at the level that you do now?
Yeah, there's, right now I'm looking at my desktop and I've got like 8 sticky notes of shit I need to do today. So I'm always trying to meet and evaluate and meet with my team to figure out what the biggest priority is. I think I've gotten in places where that style of, having all these sticky notes definitely comes to a point where it's not productive anymore. So reprioritization of tasks is definitely important for me, because obviously I can't do all of those things in one day or even in a week sometimes. So always figuring out, okay, what's the one thing that I need to do, and trying to really find out what's going to move me forward is one of the best things I can do for myself. Because I think as a business owner, you're never going to get on top of things. It's just impossible. You'll never have everything figured out and done. So always reprioritizing and finding the most important thing is key. Meditation is something that I do so that I don't get too stressed out about that to-do list, and also to control like my thoughts. Which, yeah, right now I think I'm like 60 days almost in of meditating every day.
Nice.
I go through waves of it, but I had a really rough time in October after nationals, like really rough. But that's when I knew, I was like, I got to change something about my life. So I started meditating again, and I was on a good kick. So yeah, those 2 habits are probably most important. Just meditating and trying to be the, I guess, like pilot of my own thoughts is key to to making sure that you also understand what is the most important thing for you to do.
Why did you have a rough time after nationals?
I think it was a culmination of a few things. I was struggling with some personal issues. Like I had a few conflicts with people that I was working with. I don't work with them anymore, thankfully, but I was working with a few people, and just two relationships sort of ended abruptly for me, and it was really confusing. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And those were people that I had considered to be close friends too. So yeah, I mean, they just ended. I think that happens, but for me, I wasn't really ready, and I didn't know how to deal with those happening. And that's like one of the ugly sides of doing business and doing business in the fitness industry, because you get to work with people that you really admire, and you get to work with people who you are your same age, and they're cool and they're doing cool shit. And so whenever you have a conflict, if you can't resolve it, it becomes really hard, because you kind of look at these people as your friends. It wasn't like famous social media people, so the speculation doesn't have to start if anybody's trying to do that. But yeah, so two relationships had ended. You know, after nationals, I was like, you know, dealing with some my shoulder was hurting, my knee was hurting, and I just was like tired. So yeah, I was struggling. I was feeling like I wasn't feeling like I was really being myself online. So I took a little bit of break from social media too. And yeah, I just shut everything off. I mean, I didn't open Instagram for like 2 or 3 weeks, which might not sound too crazy, but for me, I was like, oh, this is a big thing that I'm doing right here, which is so funny when I look back on it. All of those problems are so small now in the grand scheme of things. But at the time, I didn't like see that light at the end of the tunnel at all.
You think that's important to do that sometimes, like step away from social media for most people, especially people with a large following?
Oh yeah. I'm addicted to scrolling Instagram for no reason at all. I'm not even looking at anything interesting. I'm just scrolling for no reason. So now I have on my iPhone, I will lock Instagram after a while. So it will just be locked. And I don't have the passcode to enter. Ryan has the passcode. And so if I want like another 15 minutes to post something, I have to go to him and ask like, can you please unlock my phone for me? You know, it's kind of embarrassing, but it's good because that stops me from just being in an unending cycle of consuming other people's thoughts and ideas. And I think a bad habit to have is to do that first thing in the morning, because then you're only hearing other people's thoughts and ideas. And, you know, the first thing you're hearing is like what's going on with someone else's life, and not kind of realizing that you have your own shit going on too. So yeah, I've got a lock on there. So I can't exceed 1 hour a day, which is still a lot, you know, but that hour goes by quick, man.
Oh yeah, it does. How is your relationship with Ryan, you know, growing up in that abusive household, and then, you know, now you have a boyfriend, you guys have been serious for a long time. Does that childhood, does that ever rear its ugly head just in your relationship?
Not so much. I lucked out having him as a partner. I think in every other relationship I've been in, it definitely negatively affected it. But also I've never really been with someone as calm and understanding. And I don't think he has too much of a negative past to contribute to, you know, my own fire. So he will never poke the bear if I'm having like, you know, if I'm being a bitch, it's like, well, he's a saint, you know, like even if I'm a little crabby, he'll, you know, he doesn't antagonize me, which I've done that to other people. And I've been in other situations where, you know, people will poke the bear. And I understand that, but unfortunately it's not very effective to kind of get your point across or to get to common ground. So I'm really lucky that he chooses to deal with my shit, which is great. But yeah, I've never been in a relationship where I didn't fight with someone constantly, and I don't know what, it must be because he's Canadian or something, because I don't know how, we just don't really have that many conflicts, and we definitely have our moments, but we just have never really gotten like a huge blowout fight or anything, or, really been too pissed at each other, which is amazing. I think we just get along really well. And like I said, he's really smart, which I think helps because I'm kind of dumb, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, he's great. And he's been with me since I first made the change to be Meg Squats, right? When I first changed my Instagram, he was like the first person to be like, "You're Meg Squats, aren't you? I've seen your Instagram page on the gym's geotag." I had like 1,000 followers or something, like I didn't have anything. And he is great for always taking a step back whenever I want to talk shit to someone on the internet. He'll always like talk me down. And he is so smart and amazing because he works really hard too. So it's just a good match.
Does he ask you what's wrong, or does he just completely let you kind of be? Because that's kind of confusing for us guys. We're not sure what we're supposed to do.
Oh yeah, good question. I think he is one of the only people that can like really soothe me. So, and it's not like I'm in the middle of a freak out and I'm freaking out on him or anything all the time. But I think he can kind of like, okay, what's going on? Like, how can we reprioritize if ever I'm stressed? He is kind of the first person to say like, okay, what's the most important thing that we can do? And a lot of times any conflict that we have will be over work. So yeah, I think it depends. I wish I had an answer for how to deal with the wifey at home for everyone, but I think it's just trying to not antagonize someone. If you're ever dealing with someone who maybe has a little bit of a anger problem, I don't want to say problem, but is not in the best mood, I think it's maybe best to try and diffuse as much as possible and not add any fuel to that fire.
I'm curious because you mentioned that like you now have a timer on your IG to not use it as much, and you have obviously a big following on YouTube and a big following on IG. But I think recently there's been a lot of like articles and research coming out on how like that constant consumption of things on social has been causing people to have like depression, anxiety, all these different things. And obviously you're in the public eye so much. When did you make that transition to be like, I need to back off a little bit, but you continue to make content literally every single day and every single week? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean, like I had a full on identity crisis after, I was kind of losing out on some of my friends. And I think part of that was because they didn't see me as who I was. I think they saw me as Meg Squats. Like, I work with Meg Squats, not I work with Meg and Gallagher, this like human being over here. They were just like, I work with this Instagram girl, right? So I was like, who the fuck am I? And I think when you're always focused on what you're posting and the image that you're constructing online, because we all do it. I mean, even as real as we try to be, we all are still constructing an image. I think when you're solely concerned with that becomes really hard to understand exactly who you are. And I think more and more influencers are dealing with that kind of influencer identity crisis. And I see it all the time. I don't think anyone's like legitimately titling it that, but I think it really is a big problem. I sort of forget your original question. I'm sorry, I talk in circles.
When did you start making the transition to back off? And when did you really notice it was actually a problem?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So around that time, whenever I was sort of like had this big conundrum about who I really am versus who I not pretend to be, but who I project I am on the internet, I needed to take a little bit of a break. And it was around that time in October.
Yeah.
So, and also on a less serious, like existential note, when you're spending like an hour a day or 2 hours scrolling on Instagram, just lost in the mix, I mean, I've got other shit to do. And that does become a daily problem when I'm wasting time that I don't have, and also wasting time that I could be spending with my partner or with my friends. That's not great. So I think it's, a thing that I deal with daily, but I did have that big kind of blowout in October that sort of showed me I should start to define who I am outside of this and get back to that person before I like hop back on.
Yeah. Outside of like lifting and stuff, is there anything else that you like to do that like nobody really knows about? Like, do you go on random hikes? What else do you do?
What the fuck else do I do? I don't know if there's too much time. Hey, I'm watching The Walking Dead for the first time ever.
Hell yeah.
Holy shit.
It's a good show.
I had this thought today, and I don't want anyone to get mad at me, but I really think that show is better than Game of Thrones.
People are getting upset. People are getting upset for sure.
Okay.
It's such a great show. And I just, like the people who inspire me most are Michonne and Carol. Those are my heroes, man. They're just so badass. So, I watch a little bit of TV when I can. A little bit. Okay, I watch an episode of Walking Dead every day. I'm trying to get through it and catch up. But yeah, I definitely love watching like great shows like that. And who doesn't? But I like to read a little bit. I like to read some fiction. But other than that, I'm a pretty boring person overall. Yeah.
It's interesting because it's called an influencer, Instagram influencer, but ultimately we all get influenced by the people that we're trying to influence because they end up kind of dictating and they end up kind of writing your script for you. Part of the stuff that I've created here at Slingshot originally, and I don't do this anymore because it drives the entire team crazy, but I used to not involve anybody in a lot of the stuff that I was doing, whether it was creating a product or maybe even bringing someone on the podcast. I would leave it until kind of the end, and then I would say, hey, this is what we're doing. And the reason was I didn't want any outside influence. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't want your opinion. I didn't want your opinion to like mess with where I was heading. I wanted to just stay in my own lane. And it's hard to do that with Instagram. It's hard to just make a post and have it just go flat. It's hard to make a post and just not end up looking at it, not end up looking at the comments and see, oh my God, it has 10 times less likes or it has 10 times more likes, when you post a certain picture a certain way. So then it kind of dictates, okay, you're this person and you're in this category. And therefore the fans that are following that, that's what they're looking for. That's what they want. So every time you give them that, they respond, they hit the little heart and you get a like, or they might make a comment as well. But when you don't give them what they want, you don't get that. So it ends up kind of pushing you into this person that you start to get confused. Yeah, who am I? What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, and I think you've got to bring yourself always back to your mission. And I think that's one of the things that you definitely inspired me to do, is to have a clear mission on like a one-liner of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because if I followed that, what people wanted to see, which was my most liked pictures, which are like, honestly, they're like cosplay. So me dressing up like Captain Marvel or something silly like that, or bikini pics. So imagine the person that I'd be if I only followed that, So I think it is key to have your sort of mission, even if it's silly, or even if you don't tell people exactly what it is. If you're starting to build something, then have that always at the forefront of what you're posting and why.
That's really well said. That's kind of reminds me of like Juji Mufu. Like that guy doesn't share like personal information. He's not trying to inspire. He's not showing you how to deadlift or anything. He has a character, he's flipping around and he's going crazy and he's wearing different outfits. And there's other people that do that kind of stuff on Instagram, but that's literally his job, is to kind of be that way. And so I think more for yourself and more for me, it gets to be a little bit confusing because maybe we're not dressed up in a costume, or maybe we're not trying to really play anything. We're just trying to be maybe a little more revved up version of our own selves, just to give people a little bit more energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Juji Mufu.
I'm a big fan. He's awesome. He's crazy. He did a split on this podcast table right here.
Oh, okay. Wow. I gotta go back and watch that one.
I did not see that.
He's out of his mind.
Yeah. Where did that, because I saw this on Facebook. This in like old lady lifter. I don't know when that happened, but I was watching it and I think it was like 2 minutes in, I realized, oh shit, that's Meg. How did that happen?
So that was a project that we did with bodybuilding.com. Okay. And I think that was that was while I was the spokesmodel of the year. So when I won the spokesmodel of the year, I got to go out to Boise and do a couple of fun projects with them. And I love their production team so much. They're just like the best team ever. And that you got to see the highlights, but I was in that gym for like 3 hours trying to interact with people. And let me tell you, it was the most awkward thing of my life. Thankfully, my face was mostly covered, but it was so weird because I couldn't tell if people like knew what I was doing or like really thought I was an old lady. But there was a couple of like great reactions that made the cut. And those are the people that like I remember like we made eye contact and they totally like they bought it and they were amazed that I was lifting so much, and that was really satisfying. But yeah, I got to work with their team on that project, and that's amazing. There's like I think that's their second most viewed video on the bodybuilding.com channel. It's second to an Arnold Schwarzenegger video, which I'm fine with that being the case. So yeah, that was an awesome project, and that video just blew up.
Yeah, if anyone hasn't seen that, you got to look that up because that shit had me cracking up. It was great.
What's coming up next for you? What do you got going on?
What do I have going on? Sorry. I told you I was kind of stupid.
Traveling anywhere or anything like that, or any events or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm planning to go to the NSCA National Conference. So that's in July in Washington, D.C. And I know that'll be with a bunch of personal trainers and strength and conditioning professionals. So I'm really excited to just learn and kind of, it'll be my opportunity to fangirl like a true nerd on some like nerdy strength and conditioning coaches, hopefully. And yeah, I know we usually, other than that, I don't have much travel plans because I am so focused on trying to study and getting some stuff done. But yeah, that's it.
And you just released Stronger by the Day. How can people find out more about that?
Yeah, Stronger by the Day, you can find it on strongfriends.com. It's my weekly programming. So every Sunday we upload a fresh week of programming. And it's great for lifters of all kinds of levels. So I just say, if you're comfortable with the barbell, then you can run it. You feel confident. But yeah, it's been great. It's the same exact programming that I run. So if you ever see me on the gram lifting crazy shit, that's what I'm doing. It's like $8 a month. So we tried to make it as cheap as possible, so as many people could run it as possible. And yeah, it's awesome. It's so much fun.
All right, we need a pep talk here. So there's somebody listening to this right now that's a Meg Squats fan that maybe doesn't normally listen to this podcast. It's a girl, right? And they're down the dumps. They're not lifting. They're not, maybe they have lifted before. Maybe they've gotten into it before, but they're just down in the dumps. And we need to get them back in the gym. Or it's somebody maybe even that hasn't even yet tried. They just don't have the courage to step foot in the gym. They keep kind of telling themselves they need to get in shape before they get in the gym. How do we get these people motivated? How do we get them in the gym? How do we get a barbell in every woman's hands?
All right. So every day you get to decide exactly who you want to be for this day, and forget about all the shit, all the sessions that you missed or what you should have done when you're in high school or whatever, or where you are right now. Today, you can decide exactly who you want to be. So just get your shit together and put your shoes on and meet us in the gym, and you can just train. And like, it's just one rep at a time. If you can only do one set, then that's enough for me. Just get in there and get started and do something. You're a new person. It's a new day. You got this.
I like the double barrels at the end.
Yeah.
That's me putting a gun to your head, so you go.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else, Andrew?
No, that's it. Just thank you again, Meg. This was really cool.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. And I know we're hoping to get up to NorCal soon. So
hell yeah.
that'll be awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to see this facility that we're in. It's pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah. It looks huge.
We're building something special over here.
Awesome. Good.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Catch you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Cool.
Yeah, that didn't
That was
suck.
awesome. Well, of course, it wouldn't suck. It's Meg Squats.
She's awesome.
Yeah. The funny thing is though, like when you talk to Meg, it's like Meg knows a lot of shit. Meg is actually super smart, but it's so cool how like I don't want to use the word humble. She's just super real, you know, like she doesn't try to act like somebody she's not,
Right.
Because she's intelligent as hell, but you know, she just doesn't, she has that white belt mentality where she mentioned like she's always trying to learn, you know, she always comes from this level of, I don't know, you know, show me something, let me learn something new, you know.
I think it's a highly intelligent thing to practice and to say, you know what, I'm not actually sure of that. And I think what a lot of people do is they'll say, first of all, a lot of people, they claim they know the answer and they give you some bullshit answer and they don't really actually know what they're talking about. And then secondly, they are like, oh, well, I'll figure out how to like learn about that. And it's like, well, why not just ask somebody who did it already? You know, why not be humble enough, like, and be strong enough? And that's what she's done. She's kind of passed the buck on to some other people that are able to execute stuff that maybe it's just not her. She's not dumb to it. Maybe she's never learned it or it's not her area of expertise, you know? And so I think that that's a great quality and a great strength to say, you know what? I don't really know that much about that. I don't really know much about building a website. So I got somebody else to do it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in a like I remember not that long ago, there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, just fake it till you make it," and that kind of poured out into like all over the place, you know. And so it's like real unhealthy to do that. So for her to be like that, it's awesome. And it just, I think the word you're looking for is just likability. Like you can't like, how do you not love her? Like that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. And even like you mentioned, you know, at the beginning, like when I was seeing, when I started hearing about her, I started hearing about her on all of these other channels. Like it doesn't just take, you know, just going out and reaching out to people. It takes a lot of, like you said, courage to just go out and meet new people and work with new people and let them be the spotlight and not yourself. You know what I mean? Which was, I mean, it worked well for her in the long run, but now it's crazy how she was able to build from doing that.
And I like when people talk about their past, you know, it's not like everyone needs to talk about it all day, every day, but I think it's always important to really, there she is lifting as an old lady. I think it's important to bring it up to bring it up often so that other people can relate with it.
Yeah.
The old lady banging out some big squats.
It didn't even look like her. This was crazy. I think there was something she said in the video. I was like, that's Meg.
That's funny. Yeah, because I was just going through the Instagram feed and I'm like, what is this? But because, you know, we had her, so I couldn't use the computer audio. I was afraid if I hit play, like it would be just blasting everywhere. So
yeah,
it's tight.
Yeah, she was like deadlifting 4 plates in front of some of these dudes and people were super confused. But
people were just like, what?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Lifting all strong, dressed up like an old lady. But, you know, I think we need more people to kind of uncover their past a little bit to help people out there. Because people, they want to hold on to that. You know, they want to hold on to it. And maybe they're just not sure of how to like let go of it. Or maybe they just really, maybe it's something that happened to them so horrific that they can't. Yeah. Which is, you know, I think in some cases it's understandable because some horrific things have happened to people. But how do you like manage it and become part of society and be able to move forward? You know, how are you able to do that? And she, you know, mentioned some strategies that she has, you know, meditating. She found the right person. Sometimes finding the right person, you know, not everybody needs like therapy necessarily.
Yeah.
Sometimes just finding the right person can make your whole life turn around. It can change everything for you.
Definitely.
Most definitely.
All right, kids. All right. That was Meg Squats. Catch you guys later. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. We out.